Good morning. Is your fish tank polluted? Are the fish dying? You don't know why? They just start gasping on the bottom? Is your fish tank polluted? Let's look into this. But before we do, I'm Ed Conley, and I've been practicing awakening and vision awareness since the 50s. I'm 89, and I write on Facebook to explore the way we think, the way we see. I explore consciousness. But you don't explore consciousness by reading psychology books. You explore consciousness where consciousness is. And you are consciousness. You're consciousness watching consciousness. This is a platform of consciousness here. I can't see you, but I feel your consciousness. I feel you looking at me, being conscious of me. So I speak to that in my talks. So they're spontaneous. And I never know where they're going to go. I didn't know I was going to run off on this tangent. But the seed idea that I'm working with here in the study and in the observation of our consciousness is that you need a good metaphor, like a lever to work with it. You need a wrench. And a metaphor is a wrench. And the metaphor I'm working with in this talk is your fish tank polluted? The fish tank is a metaphor for your culture. That culture can be your family, your town, your religion, your politics, your nation, even the Western civilization. It's all Russian nesting dolls of culture, of fishbowls. And when the fishbowl gets polluted, things begin to die. And we look around and blame the other fish. It's not the other fish. It's the water. But you can't see the water. You can't see the pollution. It's clear. But you know it's there when fish begin to die. And of course, America's dying right now. We're a fish tank full of dying fish, gasping for truth, gasping for reality. You know how a fish does? I used to raise fish, used to have a lot of fish. I've given them up because I just gave up on the metaphor. I didn't need it anymore. So let's look at I live in Blackstone, Virginia, to just share who I am. And it's a small town, southwest Virginia, southeast Virginia, 50 miles from Richmond, flat tobacco country. Well, it's not flat. It's rolling. It's tobacco country. It used to be. And Virginia, for those that don't know about it, is the battleground for the Civil War. There are more Civil War battles here in Virginia than in the whole country. And when I came here in 1980, the summers rang with cannon. Every battlefield in Virginia had a reenactment. So every 4 years, the Civil War ran for 4 years, you had a different reenactment in the summer because there were different battles. Every battle was reenacted to the letter. And it became a reenactment religion here. Civil War is a religion. And in the reenactment, you had your purists. Even the underwear was Civil War. Couldn't wear Hanes. So you had the purists, and then you had the liberals. Underwear, you can wear Hanes, it's all right. It's okay, you don't have to use an authentic canteen. You can get one on Amazon. You see, the purists and the liberals. But the Civil War reenactment in Virginia was a summer ritual where the myth of the lost cause was reenacted ritually. And the lost cause was the myth of the South that shall rise again. You see, the South lost at Appomattox, and Lee walked right by here, right by my town. You can see markers on the road. Lee marched here. General Lee walked through here on his way to Appomattox. which was kind of like the American Napoleon going to Waterloo and St. Helena, where he was deported. But you see, the American South never surrendered. Lee surrendered, but the South didn't surrender. And it was reawakened, and I don't want to get into history here, but what I'm talking about, what I'm trying to get to, is that Blackstone, a little town of 4,000 people, a Victorian town, the main street still looks like a Victorian town, very English, bridge clubs, very English, and very Civil War Confederacy. So the town, when I arrived here in 1980 from Ohio, full of yoga and meditation and gurus and all that, and I got a job finally in 1987 writing for the local paper. If I hadn't got that job, I would have left. There was nothing for me to do here where I could be creative. There were no jobs in the 80s except being a dairy helper. That was it. Anyway, I digress. The point is that Blackstone is a culture of nostalgia. A culture of nostalgia for a lost way of life. The way of life is gone, but the myth stays the same. The myth of white supremacy, and the architecture of Blackstone maintains this separation, this segregation. All the churches are either white or black. In Blackstone, there are mainstream churches made of brick, beautiful architecture, Baptist, and I live at the corner of Church Street and Main Street. And right at this intersection, there are 4 churches: Baptist Church, Methodist Church, Episcopalian Church, and Presbyterian Church. Brick, solid, and all the professional people go there. On the outskirts of town, you have the evangelical churches. There they got not an altar, but they got a stage for a rock band. There's jumping and shouting and yes and an amen. And then you have the black churches, where there's jumping and shouting and speaking in the spirit, saying amen, amen. So the evangelical churches, lower class white churches, the professionals still go to the main street, and the working class go to the evangelical Pentecostal churches, and the blacks go to the black churches. And they look, for me, an observer, they look the same, except one's white and one's black. So there are 3 churches at Blackstone. The mainstream brick churches of the professionals, where everybody sits in your chair, like in English, like the Church of England. You all stand up, sing your prayer, and sit down. There's no jumping up. There's no amen. There's no counting. There's no joy. There's no music. There's no speaking in tongues. The preachers read their sermon. The black church and the white church, they're speaking in the Spirit. You see this architectural separation right there? It's the racism, the segregation, the past is frozen in the bricks, you see. It's stabilized by the bricks, by the architecture. The blacks go to the black church, used to go to black schools. The whites go to the white church. Then the white church is split, you see. The mainstream, the only churches were in Church Street, and now there are 2 white churches, the Episcopalian, the evangelical, the Pentecostal, and the English Church of England, or that divided into the mainstream, you see. It's right here in the architecture, so it's very hard to break out of that, you see. So the culture of Blackstone in the South is polluted with this myth of white supremacy. It's in the mythology. And it went to sleep after the Civil War, went to sleep in Jim Crow. And then segregation was ended in the 50s, 60s, and it went to sleep in MAGA.